Hey everybody, it's Valerie Ling here. Greetings. Oh dear, look at that withered plant. I'm so sorry. Let's just shift. Don't be like that plant. Don't shift your leaf to the point that you become withered and dried. So I had an opportunity. I'm really privileged to get quite a few speaking requests. It's kind of a joke for me to think about because when I was a kid, I was in primary school in Asia. I was always told to keep quiet. You girl at the back there, because I was tall, so I'd have to be at the back. You there, the girl at the back. Tom, stop talking or I'm going to call up your mom. Like, constantly got in trouble for speaking. And now I get to speak all the time. So have quite a few speaking engagements coming up. And this year really was a year quite deliberately to not do as much traveling because I have a child doing their HSC. Just adjust myself there. Excuse me. And quarter 3 and 4 is going to work a little bit differently for me this year for workflow, doing quite a bit more of my local speaking engagements, if you like. And an invitation came to do something that I would have loved to have done. Ticked all the values, tick boxes for me. So quite apart from the leadership space, burnout space, another space that I really love to do work in is in parenting or giving, parenting talks when I can. And so an invitation came in to do that. And it ticked a lot of the boxes. And I thought I should be okay to do it. It was very local. We like to pay it forward. So where we can, if I'm able to take on a speaking engagement, I'll do it. And I knew that I first had to send it to Kathy, who is the guardian over my diary, because I frequently break it and I book myself into things when I shouldn't. And it surprised me when the email came back because I'd forgotten that actually the speaking invitation was right smack in the middle of when I'd booked my leave. I suspect Kathy knows how much something like this would have meant to me because it puts me front and center back with parents and we're talking about kids and family and parenting. And she gave me the out. This does not usually happen, but she did give me the out to say we could interrupt your leave for you to do this. And that was a really difficult choice for me to make. So what I noticed was I was really tempted to do it. And mainly because my heart was being led in a particular direction. I know that during the last few years, parents have found it really difficult. We do know that kids are a lot more have a lot more emotional dysregulation, and the schools are feeling challenged as well. And so an opportunity to provide some encouragement and support to parents who are also having to work through, the impact of kids going through a pandemic meant quite a lot to me. So here we have competing values. Now, the competing demand is that I could move my leave, right? It's really easy for me to do that. Should I do it? And here's how my thinking went. So leading self well means the ability to lead others well. And annual leave, there are 2 blocks generally for me that all stop in July and then in January. Now, in January, the whole business goes into an all stop. So we all have leave where we're uncontactable. We don't go to the office. Laptops are locked up. My mobile phone goes into a very simple format of mainly just responding to personal calls and messages. And I have a similar period, but it's only personal to me in July, right after the end of financial year rush and madness, because there's often a lot of documents I have to sign and things that I've got to look through before end of financial year. And it has typically coincided as well with the only real time that I spend school holidays with my kids. Because I've always worked when I've had children, from when they were very little, I made the decision to take that particular school holiday off because it provided me with an opportunity to ease and soothe my mother heart, that at least once a year I would not be distracted by work or other sort of commitments, and just be mindfully present for them in the school holidays. And in years gone past, that particular school holiday would be a little bit of a wish list. The kids would sit down and they, express, write when they could write, what were the free things they would really love to do for the school holidays, and we would invest time to do it. And that hasn't shifted. It's just something that is put into now my annual diary, that these are the 2 times that I take an all-stop rest. It's also the time when, as more and more as the practice has grown and other people have started to, message just came through, as we started to have other people in our practice, it was also a time for me, when I do an all stop, for the team to have a bit of a breather from me, constantly, fixing and breaking things and messing and inputting into their projects, and for them to have a period where they just calibrated and flew solo, figured out what are those things that were still so highly dependent on my input that were no longer necessary. What were some of the areas that they could, on their own accord as a team, organically work through and talk through. And I found it such a valuable time for me to go away and let my team to evolve, and for them to give me honest feedback, to say, in your absence, this is what we discovered, or this is what we fixed, or this is what we did. So July, therefore, that leave period, leading self and leading others well, it also means that just before a very busy period, because typically in mental health services, from about July onwards all the way to December, it's a very busy time, and we may get crises in the practice, we may get disruptions. There's often a lot of movement that happens in the practice, and so it actually allows me to have a complete mental break so that I can come back and actually do my job well. I also know that our team have come to build their own patterns and rhythms around that, and I thought it would be really dishonoring for our team for me to move that leave, and also dishonoring to my family, who have always been used to this particular rhythm, and HSC season as well. July is pretty much the time when everything starts to ramp up. So the competing demands for me came down to, there is leading self, leading others, and of course giving to our external community. When you stack those 3 things up, is it really worth shifting leave? Is it a reason that is strong enough to move that leave period, to move all of the other foundations underneath it? So that for me was an interesting exercise, an interesting commitment and conviction to say, the leave is in, we'll offer an alternative, see if we can find something else. What are your thoughts?